Welcome to Accessible Learning Readiness, a website dedicated to providing insight into the accessibility readiness of various educational learning tools. Our website acts as an online resource that will critically evaluate the accessibility and usability of various educational tools for the higher education levels. We intend to assess each tool using a checklist based on their functionality, potential benefits, and any existing shortcomings. Our site is intended for educators and instructional designers who are thinking about which educational tools could best fit their needs and the needs of their students. We have 4 key learning objectives that we would like our readers to consider while exploring our site. First, the educator or instructional designer, or anyone else who would deem our site useful, would be able to make a more informed decision about what online learning tool would best meet their needs and the needs of their students, based on our accessibility checklist. Secondly, we hope to raise awareness among the education community about important accessibility features and guidelines for educational technology. Thirdly, we strive to promote more accessible ways to use educational learning tools for diverse learners. And lastly, we plan to collaborate with other educators and instructional designers in order to improve our assessment guidelines. As the authors of this website, we would like to openly acknowledge that we are temporarily able-bodied individuals and have made every effort to be considerate and diligent while making our site accessible and inclusive. In order for us to gain a variety of perspectives, we ask that you share your experiences and feedback using our rating and reviewing system. Or feel free to contact us on our contact page so that we can continue the conversation.
This video describes the components of the accessibility checklist page on our website. At the top of the accessibility checklist page on our site, we have provided a brief overview of Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, which is an internationally recognized standard for developing websites and online tools that are more accessible to diverse end users versus sites that are developed without these standards in mind. First developed by the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C, in 2008, WCAG 2.0, or Level A and AA, is currently the standard for accessible website development. However, by January 2021, WCAG 2.1, or Level AAA, will be the new standard. We've included information on WCAG 2.0, 2.1 in order to encourage educators and course designers to become more aware of the need to create accessible digital learning material for their diverse learners. The checklist. We have provided 2 downloadable copies of our adapted checklist. Both checklists, built in Word, are in table format and contain a series of WCAG criteria based on W3C's perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust subdivisions. The table includes a column indicating how each guideline should be implemented by educators and/or course designers. Both checklists are identical, but one checklist contains links to Penn State's accessibility site in order to familiarize educators and designers with new terminology for those who might be unsure of some of the different terms or concepts listed in the checklist. Near the bottom of the accessibility checklist page, we have provided a sample walkthrough video explaining how to use the checklist when evaluating the accessibility of an online tool or website. In this video, we have used the checklist to evaluate Moodle 3.9. We have also provided a downloadable Word version of the video transcript. One important observation we make during the video that bears repeating is that the guidelines listed in WCAG 2.0, 2.1 rely on a user's ability to design with accessibility in mind. That is, a site will only be as accessible as an educator or designer make it. As educators and course designers, we must make an effort to keep up to date on the latest accessible course design expectations. It is not always the technology that is inaccessible, rather it is the way in which a designer uses the technology that makes it inaccessible. For those interested in more information or more detail than what we've provided on our accessibility checklist page, we have listed relevant references at the bottom of the page. Site users might find these links useful and helpful when trying to learn about accessibility in an online teaching and learning environment.
The next section of our site takes a look at two types of e-learning tools: collaborative tools and learning management systems. We first look at three popular collaborative tools: Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Collaborate Ultra. These are video conferencing software that allow users to communicate synchronously. For each of these tools, we will provide a description of the tool, including accessibility statement, a synopsis of the accessibility features, mention of the shortcomings and areas of opportunity that exist for the tool, and finally on our site, we've included a downloadable version of our accessibility assessment based on our checklist. At the bottom of the tool page, we've included a place for users of these tools to provide feedback on their experience. We recognize that our project and website is tab-centric. In order to create a more open and accessible experience, we acknowledge the importance of reaching out to those with diverse learning needs to assist us in creating a more well-rounded assessment of online learning tools. So here we ask students if they felt the tool is one they would recommend, and we provide a general place to leave detailed feedback. Mahmoud and other authors discuss the importance and value of including all potential end users in the assessment and research process. They stress that by engaging participants as citizen scientists, that is, co-creators in the research process, it is possible to facilitate citizen engagement and advocacy, potentially leading to changes in the community that work to remove barriers to mobility. We follow the same layout for the learning management systems. Learning management systems is software used for delivery of educational courses. We've chosen Canvas, Moodle, and Blackboard. For our website, we've decided to keep the layout consistent, so you'll find the same layout for these tools as well. We recognize that we may need to expand what we include in our reviews to meet the needs of our users, and we are happy to do so.
In this section, we will go over the rationale of this project and the role we envision this website will play. In 2018, National Educational Association of Disabled Students completed a study and showed that over 30% of Canadian post-secondary schools do not have a formal strategic plan for accommodation. What Malcolm said in Toward the Theory of Technological Embodiment resonated with us, and he said, if all bodies, both abled and disabled bodies, need technologies to function, then all bodies immediately become the same. This is by no means to ignore the specific needs of the disabled students, but to emphasize the importance of equitable opportunity to learn. Our website focuses on online learning tools, as at present, the majority of institutions have moved to online learning. We want to evaluate whether the tools we chose possess what Bach asked in technology and students with disabilities, and whether the tools are what they do, what they have contributed, and the potential they still offer. In the conclusion section, understanding and accepting ability diversity is important. The tools we listed here are only as accessible as what we put in them. Having the awareness and intention is only the first step and an important one. We recognize that as temporary able-bodied individuals, there are biases when we evaluate the tools listed on the site. That is why we include the rating system under the overview of every learning tool, and also a contact form to invite further participation and interaction. It is an ongoing dialogue to have on how to make learning more accessible, so please feel free to share our site with your colleagues. We acknowledge that there are limitations with the information we presented here, including not listing all major learning tools, for instance Brightspace, on our site. We are hoping to invite community involvement to fill the gap, and it is the hope that this site will serve as a hub for educators or anyone who would like to learn more about inclusive learning. Good design should include accessibility and social inclusion. By first engaging with our educators, we are confident it will inspire more to design teaching with inclusion in mind. On behalf of Abe, Natalie, and Tarawan, thank you for visiting our site.